Hello again, and welcome back to Market Mamas. We're so glad you guys tuned in today. So, we have another really incredible book recommendation for you guys that probably most traders have read or at least heard of. But even if you have read it, it's really packed full of excellent content. So, allow us to review our favorite parts with you now and refresh all of our memories. So, today we're going to talk about Jared Tendler's The Mental Game of Trading as our next Market Mamas must-read recommendation.
Yes, this was a very early read for me as a trader. All the lessons still stick out to me today. I often turn back on it, any random chapter, and it's always a message I need to hear. The author, Jared Tendler, is just so on point from page one with good reason. He's an international mental game coach who has poured into educating and refining world champion poker players, traders, entrepreneurs, elite athletes, and PGA Tour players. So with a master's degree in counseling psychology and extensive experience as a high-level golfer himself, it's still early. I'm trying to get my words out. He's spent decades cultivating a deep understanding of the psychological struggles of high achievers and strivers. Jared is clear and honest in his book and calls out our most common pitfalls with clarity, such as greed, fear, anger, lack of confidence, and discipline. But thankfully, he also digs into practical solutions and great ideas for implementing strategies for improving performance after you've identified those major flaws. So Jared also creates a bridge from how your mental and emotional game correlates to your technical game, which is so important for us as traders to be very cognizant of. We have really gained so much useful information and have been able to turn it into practical strategies and processes from his book. So we just had to share it with you all today.
Yes. The Mental Game of Trading is such a really well-rounded and thorough trading psychology book for sure. Early in this book, Tendler explained an important perspective on his entire approach to mental coaching. The core of it is that we need a solid, balanced system, and emotions can actually be helpful to that aim. Makes you think, right? It's a little bit counterculture to what we hear a lot. One quote of his from this section reads, "Emotion is not the problem. It's the key to mastering your game." He advises that the journey of working through your mental layers is like a game with many levels and challenges to be undertaken once you have an established technical system that you understand and you can regularly execute within your trading day with a clear and focused mind. After you have your technical system dialed in, then we all know what happens next, right? Our psychological challenges become more apparent and they become the barrier for profitability. So Tendler teaches that it is the best long-term strategy to not hate or work to shut down your emotions, but rather treat them as helpful signals and get curious about what they're trying to tell you. His advice is to then use them to identify deeper problems in your game, such as a fear of or a lack of confidence, fear in general, correcting the underlying problem, instead of just fighting the fear in real time as you trade. Like, get deeper. The fear signal in a trading day, for example, is a sign that you need to potentially strengthen your system or personal faith and respect. We should use these emotions as catalysts that can help direct our work more specifically and personally moving forward. And I really love that. Like, that was the opening of the book, was kind of explaining that concept. And I was like, that's such a good way of reframing it, because we are emotional creatures. And so we can't not be emotional creatures, but let's use it. I love that.
Right. Awareness is key. Yeah. So probably one of Becky and my most greatest takeaways from this book is the A to C mental game mapping. Okay, so once upon a time, our poor performance days were definitely trending more than our best. We had a tendency to just keep repeating those patterns, and that easily quickly turned into crap trading habits, C game, and that subsequently resulted in big losing days, trading trauma, and just toxic, unhealthy feelings about our progress. Maybe other traders out there can relate to having a time of feeling almost stuck and continuing just to reinforce, your worst performance flaws. The mental game, A to C mapping, provided us a way to finally identify and address our execution flaws through daily mapping with specific attention to areas of mental game and tactical skills. So think of A to C mapping as a performance spectrum, C being your very worst game and A being your best game. Jared outlines these as these categories with specific mental states and tactical skills that correspond for A, B, or C game. 2 minutes to list, but I'll give you a few examples from each. C game execution looks like having a mental state of forcing a bias, no patience, trading P&L, which can result in chasing price, not following loss limit rules, overscaling without planning for price to go against you. B game mental state looks like overthinking, reacting slower, going against your gut, which can result in losing focus on price, location, and context, cutting trades too soon or not giving enough room, and not having a good read on volatility. Now, A game, the best game, mental state looks like being patient, decisive, and confident, which of course results in clear understanding of price and market context as a whole, letting price come to you and acting when you need to. So after each trading session, Becky and I would go into the stock and literally check off each of the boxes that related to how we executed on that day. On any given day, there may be a healthy sprinkling from all 3 of the categories, with the occasional full C game because we are imperfect, but those did start to become fewer and further between as we faced our performance flaws head on. Jared explains that the idea is not to expect to completely eliminate your poor performance flaws, but to rather expect your worst game and drive for your best.
Yes, I love that so much. We use that a lot, tracking our behaviors over time so we can analyze our own trends. So another concept that I love that actually really plays into the whole creation of that A to C game that Tendler wrote about in this book is that I really thought was really powerful was his inchworm concept, which is aptly named after the method of movement of a literal inchworm, little creature. So to explain this best, I have an excerpt from this section of the book. A bell curve is a static snapshot of your performance over a defined period of time that shows how frequently you are trading well, at average, or poorly. Improvement is the forward movement of the bell curve over time, something an actual inchworm illustrates perfectly in the way that it moves. Consistent improvement happens by taking one step forward from the front of your bell curve, where your A game becomes even better, followed by another step forward from the back, where your C game becomes less terrible. Makes sense, right? And it's a really clear image for me of a slow but real progression that comes with time from consistent effort. By mapping out our behaviors, as Kendra outlined, we can clearly identify the areas we exhibit the most that need work and then target those. And kind of insidiously, our worst days can then become not quite as bad as we learn from them and evolve our whole system and approach. This is because our inchworm has scooched up some and is just a little bit farther down the path. So Kendra and I have said many days in the past, girl, I don't love my day, but I've had worse. And if this is my new bad day, then I'm coming along. So that still like reigns true for me. And so my inchworm, he's like slowly making his way. It's all right.
True story. Okay. Another amazing tool Jared offered to help break through our greatest challenges is the mental hand history. There's 5 steps. And by the way, you can go to jaredtendler.com/worksheets and download this worksheet to do this activity yourself. However, for this example, I'm going to share my own mental hand history, which I did in February of 2023 when I was trading ES futures. So number 1 is describe the problem in detail. My data is showing me that I'm not taking profit on trades that fall short of 10 points. Many of these trades get to at least 5 points or more and then start to reverse, at which time I choose to manage my stop loss and move to break even in hopes for continuation instead of managing my profit target. More often than not, I give back profit and stay in my trade even when I'm giving clear signals to exit. Number 2, explain why it makes logical sense that you have this problem or why you think, feel, or react that way. I am clearly not satisfied with only a 5-point trade. A beautiful 10-point trade makes me feel like I'm a great trader and I can hold to my target. A 5-point trade makes me feel like I either didn't wait for the best setup or I was risk averse and got out too soon. My trade plan often has many points that the market gives by the end of the day, and I don't have time to trade all day, so I need to get as much as I can in my window of time. I mean, it's the truth. Number 3, explain why the logic in step 2 is flawed. My goal for a trade is 5 points, but I have not aligned my intention and that behavior with that. Instead, I have programmed myself to see 5 points as not good enough. 5 points times multiple accounts and or contracts is nothing, is not nothing, and it's better than 0 points. This has become another way I'm self-sabotaging myself and seeking perfection instead of just getting shit done. This is a major contributing factor as to why my accounts are stagnant. I cannot achieve my goals and grow my accounts with the habit of giving up good points. Number 4, come up with a correction to that flawed logic. My next level mastery has to be how to win. I must improve my offensive game. When I have an open receiver, I must throw the damn ball, or in this case, take profit. Not every pass is a touchdown. Move the ball down the field each yard line to get closer and closer to the goal line. I have to reprogram my mind to not think of 5 points as lack or limitation. Usually when I'm holding out hope and overstaying my welcome on these trades, I am failing to recognize the next best setup is already starting. Number 5, explain why that correction is correct. If I want something different, I have to do something different. I cannot get stuck in habits that do not serve me. In trading, what I do is more important than what I know. Who cares how great my trading plan is if I'm too stubborn to take what the market gives me? My best day and poor day performances are pretty well defined. It's the middle area, my average performance, that can be a game changer over time. I have to think of my performance as a bell curve with 15% spectacular, 15% sucks, and 70% good. Good can get me to my goals. Consistently good is how I win. So that's an example of the mental hand history, and it can be used for everything in life, not just trading. Essentially, it's taking the lies we tell ourselves in our head, injecting logic, and then accepting we know better, so we have to do better. Let's do better.
Yes, girl. I love that you shared that because it was a really powerful exercise and really well done. So let's do that. Let's do better. Okay, so this next topic is near and dear to my heart because I feel like I became quite intimate with how it presents in me over the past few years. And it was a subject first given a name for me in this book, actually. And so Jared calls it tilt. The term tilt is a very common one in one of Jared's other main worlds, poker. It refers to the experience of a player that gets really mad or frustrated and then plays really poorly as a result. I loved the quote from this book when he is explaining this, where he writes, "It's more fun and descriptive to say I tilted rather than I got angry and made some terrible decisions." I totally agree. I would way rather say I tilted. So for me, I know literally that exact feeling. I mean, I wish I didn't, but I do. Something in my trading day starts to go awry and not as I planned it when I set up my trade. Ideally, I would keep my cool, take a small hit, stay level, make a new and better plan with what the market is telling me, and carry on. But ideally, it's not always the reality, if I'm being honest. Especially, last year. Sometimes I really get irritated that my plan doesn't immediately play out, and I wonder what the heck is going on. Here's where, if I make poor management decisions, such as deepening my stop, things can quickly slide down a dangerous rabbit hole. I have poorly and with too much risk mismanaged a trade and then kind of lost my clear vision. That's me tilting. I get mad, frustrated, anxious, worried, and scared. I question my plan that seemed so solid when I first entered the trade. And here, if I enter fuck it mode from the tilt, it almost always gets worse from there. So sure, sometimes F it mode leads me to aggressively repair my loss quickly because if I can stay in sync with Miss Market and trade aggressively, it's like it never happened. But more often than not, it leads to deeper losses and worse decisions. That's the very real risk of tilt. And before moving on, I have to read one more excerpt from here. We could talk about tilt all day, but this last little bit is really good because it clarifies the difference between fear and tilt. So the quote is, when you're gripped by fear, you're often at risk of overthinking and second guessing. With anger, the lack of thinking leads you to fire off trades without hesitation. If you're overwhelmed by fear, risk aversion is a big problem. Tilt, and you become blind to risk. When you're angry, there's a righteousness to your decisions and thoughts, and you can't see the possibility of being wrong. This is the opposite of not trusting your gut when you're fearful, where you assume your intuition is wrong and you go against it. So I do know the feeling of both, but for me, tilt is my kryptonite for sure.
Oh, yes. And it is as confusing as it sounds. I mean, tilt can just so quickly take over and steal the show like a thief in the night. I wish that were not so. We are going to do an episode specifically dedicated to tilt, so be on the lookout for that. Another one of Jared's incredibly helpful worksheets is the goals and plans. We know these words get tossed around so often, so why is this activity so important? Have you ever gotten supercharged by your goal setting and then things started to fizzle out as soon as, the setbacks and resistances started showing up? Of course, we all have, because that's how life works. In this activity, you clearly define and outline in advance what potential problems you will likely face and create a plan. Again, I'll use my own personal example in this exercise to start with. So, result goals. My goal is to be a confident trader and stop letting my fear and doubt hinder my trading potential. I would like to be confident enough to take better advantage of my good performance days and confident enough to sit out when I'm not having good intuition about market conditions. Why these goals matter to me. This will be the only way I can succeed. Otherwise, I will continue to win just enough and lose just enough to stay in the game but not excel. My future and my family's quality of life depends on me breaking through this barrier. I cannot settle for just enough like I have often in my past, knowing I could break that cycle and earn my financial freedom. I deserve this, and I owe it to all the generations that came before and that will come after me. I can start a new legacy of wealth and abundance. When good people get more, they do more good. I have so much good work to do in the world. Okay, so process goal. I will get out of trades when my data tells me to, not my comfort level, which is fear from risk aversion. I will take additional trades on a green day if it's a high probability setup supported by market context and live data. I will scale in on winners. Process how. I will continue to practice taking my best setups and believing in them. I will always be prepared before trading with my trading plan and use replay to practice trades within my plan that I miss. Here's another process goal. I will sit out of the market when I'm not feeling like I have a strong enough advantage. I will not force my trading plan if conditions are not favorable to my game. Another process how. I will positively reinforce saving myself from unnecessary losses and practicing restraint. I will respect and learn from the market still. I will understand one day does not make me or break me. So here's the problems that you will likely face. Due to my upbringing, I battle with scarcity complex. I was conditioned to feel insecure about money. Money was never looked at as a financial tool. Instead, would always be a shortage or an obstacle. Plan. Many people have turned adversity into greatness. I'm no more or less worthy of being successful than anyone else. I've worked a great deal on my skill set. Now I need to upgrade and expand my identity. I will transform my beliefs and decide once and for all that I'm wealthy and abundant. So this framework that Jared gives us is just so helpful, and it's a powerful way to prepare yourself for the internal war we face each day. If you know, you know. Anytime you're pushing, beyond, the norm, what you have, it is a war every day, and we have to suit up and armor up and just keep entering the arena. which we've talked about many times. And it totally reminds me of this quote I'm so into. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win.
I found this next bit of advice from Jared particularly helpful for me. In Chapter 9, he outlines the real-time strategy for improving your game with 4 steps. Recognizing a problem has been triggered, step 1. Disrupting the momentum is step 2. Step 3 is injecting logic. And lastly, using a strategic reminder. So this whole strategy is excellent, and I really encourage you all to read through this section carefully. But the part that really stuck with me after finishing the book was the core work of it with injecting logic. Tendler explains that injecting logic is the real-time antidote for the emotions causing errors in your execution. Leveraged in the right way, it is one of the strongest tools you have to reach resolution. He relates it to the well-researched and proven power of self-talk and further advises on how to write your logic statements so that they are individual to your primary areas of improvement that you have identified from your mental hand history and the other work that he encourages. So some tips for us from Jared on writing our logic statements are to make it potent and specific, and don't get too hung up on making it perfect. Instead, do your best with it and then adjust it over time to improve it and keep it relevant to your current daily experience and needs when you're trading. It's an active work in progress. It makes sense, right? So it's essentially writing what we want our brains to really hear when we are starting to slide into the less than ideal habits that we have a tendency to do, and to stop those before they get worse. You want to make your statement powerful and personal, and then use it, like really use it. So internalize the words before you really damage your days. Have a post-it on your computer, your workstation, have a recording in your phone that you can just flip on when you recognize you might be going the wrong way. Like, get those words in your mind. And that was such a killer piece of advice for me, especially. And I recommend to you guys, because I do have it posted in my office and I have a couple different recordings depending on how my day is going that just really can kind of like put in my brain what I want to do instead of the potential tilt or aversions that I could experience, like to refocus me to a clear place in my mind. It's good.
Totally is. I mean, this book is hands down definitely one of the top, because not only does it provide us that, trading psychology aspect to give us perspective and help us, cultivate that winning mindset, which a lot of the books have, but, he really gives you strategy and ways to implement that strategy, and then ways to track that strategy. And like you said, to adapt it and just keep, because we are works in progress. So our strategies are also works in progress. So it was just great that we got to share this book with you all today. Jared Tendler is such an impressive and on-point coach, to traders. And he recently expanded his business, and he does offer personal mentoring as well now. So check that out if any of these ideas, anything we've shared speaks to you. One last gem from his book that we want to also leave you guys with. Emotional problems will keep coming back if you don't find and fix the real cause of them. Trading is not for the faint of heart. It's hard, brutal, and if you're committed to it, as we are, then these are just the hard truths and the reality. But they're worth our energy and acknowledge to continually, keep working on and keep working through. So that's a wrap for today. But of course, quick shout out to Audible for making it so easy for us to consume amazing content like this book on the go. Please check out the description and below for all of our links that we're active on, and you can find us at our website, www.market-mamas.com. So much great content there, lots of blogs, and all of our links to all of our socials are there as well. We would love to connect further with you all, have more guests on the show. So please reach out to us, and let's keep enriching this community, growing this community. Thanks for watching to the end. If you have time, please hit like, please leave us a comment, give us some good feedback, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.